Okay, so welcome to the next part. Here you can see our 6 plants in our folder that we've created inside our raw project files, meshes and vegetation, all in here, which is fantastic. So select them all, right click, select copy if you're in Windows, get up your Unity, tag Unity project files, Art of Games, Assets, Meshes, Vegetation. If you haven't created that folder in your Unity project files, in your Unity project folders, then do that now. And then just simply right click and paste. And you can see I've already done mine, pasted all 6 of them in here. The meta files are files that Unity creates, so don't touch those. Also create your textures folder and copy in your albedo map into that. Also, the materials folder will get created automatically by Unity once you go in there, so you don't have to create that. Just leave that out for now. So once you've done that, you should have them inside Unity like this. Here's my six plants. They're really hard to see, but it's just because of the shader that I've got on them. And I'll go through that now actually. So if we go into our meshes, vegetation, and you can see that materials folder is there. There'll be a little conversion process going on when you first come into Unity, and it'll do some stuff, and it should create that materials folder, and all we have in there is our vegetation albedo, and all of these plants use that same one material. So we can look at that material first. So yours will probably say standard, and what you want to do is select that shader, come down to nature there, and then come down to soft occlusion leaves. Select that, and that's the shader we're going to use for our grass and these plants that we've created. You can play with these values to make your. Let's just put one in the scene, see what it looks like. It's tall mixed grass. There we go. Let's click on it. Have to get right in there. Hard to see because I've actually not difficult, not easy to see in the light. But you can, if you take a look at this. Let's focus that. If you look at this plant, Unity renders it because we're using this shader, this nature soft occlusion leaves. Unity renders all sides quite evenly, which is very nice actually. It's very cool, and it also drops a shadow there, but when we put it into our detail mesh it won't do that until we bake it. At least that's what I'm hoping for, but I've got to get to confirm that for sure. But we do want some form of shadow down there. I know they'll cast ambient occlusion for sure, so that might be just enough to give it that definition. So select your material, make sure you got that correct, adjust these alpha cutoffs if you want to. You can see what this does because we did this before. It just gives you the option to change, just to trim the edges slightly if you want to, but we have rendered these in Max and we've got a really nice soft edge on these already, so it should be fine. That's the benefit of rendering your high detail mesh into a texture. And that little tick box we ticked in Max when we did the rendering gave us that soft edge, so that's cool. The base light, let's adjust the light, the value of it, which is quite good because you don't want it glaring. You can adjust it accordingly however you want to set it up in your scene. And the ambient occlusion similar, You know, it's like way too bright. So you just take that down to whatever you want. I think all it's doing here, Max, is I think all Unity is doing here is modifying the vert colors here. So it'll only go as bright as your texture will allow. So this is why I wasn't too bothered about the leaves color when we were creating them in 3D Studio, because you can adjust them to your heart's content inside Unity, and that's fine. Do your adjustments on your shader and set that up, and you need to do that for each one. Basically just go in and make sure they all look cool, and then we need to make them, once you've set them up like that, we need to make them into prefabs. So you need to create, if you haven't done already, you need to create a prefabs folder. So in assets, in the root of assets, create a prefabs folder here, and inside the prefabs create a props folder. You don't have to do that now, but I'm doing some experiments, so I've already got my props folder there. So just create a vegetation folder, and you can see I've already created my prefabs. So basically, once you've put them in the scene like this, and you've modified all the values and adjusted them how you want them, colors and your material, make sure you set up your material. Drop the mesh in like I've done there. When it's in, grab it out here and drag it into your prefabs folder like that. If you then click on the mesh inside your scene, you'll see it up here. It'll have the word prefab next to it, and that's what you want to do. And you want to do that for all of them. You can see I've done my 6 here already. I don't want this last one I've just created, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to delete it out of the scene because I've already created mine. So tall mixed grass, there it is. There's mine that I created before, and that's a prefab. And I've got my tall dead grass, which is there, small grass, and that was the 3, which looks okay. You know, I like the thickness of those. It gives it a nice variation. Small dead grass is there. Medium grass height is there, which is cool. That's the one with the slant, and that's quite nice. You won't get all these shadows like that when we've set it out. You won't get the crossy shadows because it looks a bit weird. And my ground plant, which is here, and that's cool, and that's going the wrong way. Okay, so on that one I've clearly forgot to do the rotation of that. So I need to go back and just make sure that I've set my rotation up correctly. So once you've done that, you don't need them in the scene like this. It's just showing you that they were all done and ready. Next, select your terrain here. Come over here to the second icon on the end under terrain, this one here. Click on that. That's my brush. It's huge, so I just need to bring that down because it gets a bit annoying. That's better. And what we need to do is set up our detail meshes so we can paint all that grass onto our terrain. So if we go to edit details here, click that. You can see I've already done my 6. I've already set them up, so I'll just show you how to do it now. Go to edit details, click that, go add a detail mesh. So you get this dialog box here. This add detail mesh box, and all you do is from your prefabs folder, go to vegetation and where your 6 meshes are. So for the first one, click that, drop it into the detail game object like so. Leave noise spread as it is for now. This is the size of your object when it gets painted down. This is the size minimum, because what it'll do is randomize it between 1 and 2. So 1 is the normal size at which you created it, So maximum width 2 would be twice the size as you intended it to be in max. Now I always take these down to something like 0.7 and sort of 1 or just over 1.2, something like that, and the same with the height. Now it depends on which, if you keep all these values the same, your sizes should remain the same for each of your plants, because what you don't want is your short little plants to suddenly have a maximum height of 3, because it will be taller than your taller plants. So make sure all these values are the same in every one of your plants that you bring into this detail mesh. So again, 0.7-ish and what was it, 1.2 is fine. And this is you can assign more colors to them. Let's just add that in now, like so. You can see I added it onto the end, even though I don't want it. I'll delete it when we've finished, and just paint it onto the floor. And that's the one we just added. So if I go back into this again with that selected, go back into edit details and go to edit, you'll see the same tablet comes up. And these colors, you can again adjust the color of your mesh. It's very subtle. White will give it its color that you intended it to be when you brought it into Unity. And the dry color, I'm not entirely sure what these values are used for, but you can set up different versions of the same mesh with different color values, so you can have some nice variation. So feel free to do that, and make sure your render mode is on grass, not vertex lit. Make sure it's on grass, and then just click apply, and that's it. It should be done. Now if we go to, let's just have a look at that, what we've got there. If we click on play, let's go and see, and there it is. There's our little patch we just put down, looking pretty nice. Okay, so you can see it's sort of swaying in the wind based on the values that we put on our vertices of our alpha values. So if we come out now and go to here, this icon here, select terrain. This is the settings, under terrain settings, and come down, you'll see the wind settings here. If yours is not doing that, or it's really erratic, just adjust these values. So that's the bending, that's how much bend it does, and that's the speed, and obviously the size. Just adjust these according to what you want, basically. It's entirely up to you. Whatever just play the game. You could probably, I'll tell you what you could do, turn off maximize, click play, and just adjust the values in here until you got it looking right. I can take the speed right down, and it really calms it down. It's very subtle. Take the speed right up, and it'll make it sway a lot more. Whew. Pretty cool. Yeah, take it right up even further. Adds a bit of noise to it, which is quite nice. I like that. So I might just leave mine like that. So that's speed 1 on the max, size 1 on the max, which is pretty cool, and bending 0.2 is what I've got there, and that gives it quite a nice movement. It looks like wind is going through the grass. That's exactly what you want. So so go back to our grasses here. I'm going to delete that one. In fact, let me just brush size. To delete an area of grass, just hold down shift and paint, and it will just remove them. Just bring that back down again. I want to remove this. To remove one of your grasses from your list, just go to edit details, remove, and it will be gone. So bring in all of your grass, each one exactly as I've said, and I'll just go through and I'll show you what I've got here so far. So I've got my dead grass, I've got my mixed grass. In fact, let's just undo that because it's quite dense. I don't want to don't want to paint too many down at once. You've got to be careful because your frame rate is going to go. You can note if you've noticed, I've got my statistics showing here, and I'm keeping an eye on my frame rate. It's pretty good at the moment, but you know, you need to keep an eye on that. Okay, so that's my mixed, it's my dead grass there. I've got my ground plants, so I can dot some of these around in amongst the grass, and that breaks it right up, which is pretty cool. And you can see they're the right way round now, which is nice. I've got my green grass, a lot greener, but you can change the values of these as well, like I've explained. You know, if you go to edit details and go to edit, you can change, you know, I can make this a different color if I want to. You know, very subtle, but if you keep it on white, like I said, it keeps the color that you intended. But if you wanted to give it a slight tint, you know, you can do that too. So that's my green. I think this is the short. Yeah, this is the short chunky one. And this is my other short one. So I've got a lot of different variation in there, which is pretty cool. Take strength down. Okay, on my mixed grass, I really like that. You know, you've got to be careful about how much you paint on this, because how much of this you drop down. So if your computer's starting to chug, then you know you need to sort of dilute it a little bit and not go too crazy with it, because you know this is an art course. It's about making your game look good, so therefore you know, I'm not that, you know, we just make it look good and then let the technical guys worry about how it performs. But you can help them out, obviously. You know, just keep an eye on that frame rate, because it will make a big difference. And you can see mine's not too bad at the moment. It's 7, you know, it's not really having that much of an impact. And don't worry about the shadows. You can notice that the shadows have gone once we put in detail meshes in. They go, but they will bake down. Pretty sure they bake down, so when we bake it, it'll be fine. So just have a play with this, but I would resist doing too much of the grass, because we need to get the rest of our rocks and our objects down, because you don't want to be painting grass underneath stuff. You don't want to paint all your grass and put rocks on top of it. It's just a waste. But just give you a quick demonstration here. If we go for our dead grass, for example, make the brush size really big. You can make a really big impact quite quickly. You know, let's increase the strength. Let's just undo that. Let's go for a mix, a bit of mixture in there. And sorry, a few ground plants now. You want to bring this down. You don't want too many of these because they're quite dense. But it does break it up, does break the grass up. Let's move around here. You can see I've already done some before doing this. I just sort of set some up just so I could see what it was going to be like. Let's just bring it out here. You know, this is why in some respects this is good, but in other respects you got very little control over it. You can't carefully paint. Oops, see, you don't want, that's definitely, you don't want to do that. There we go. Let's just have a look at that. In fact, let's just stop that. Let's turn on maximize on play so we can see the whole effect. There we go. You can see as soon as you start adding vegetation, it transforms That's, you know, really does transform your scene, your game instantly. It's fantastic. Let's go up here and have a look what we look. Lush forest. All of a sudden we've got this big lush forest, and you can see my frame rate has dropped quite dramatically, so you need to be, I'll have to go in and dilute some of these once we put trees down and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the frame rate is really dropping a bit there. We do have to put you can see just by having those plants in there, and I've put on those plants, I put a really low alpha value because I didn't want it moving. I think it was like 20 or 15, just as it moved a little bit. And you can even do the individual leaves slightly different, so you might get some movement, but you need to be careful. Do some experiments with that, because they will kind of stretch and stuff if you're not too careful with it. But yeah, instantly our scene is starting to look pretty cool. It doesn't look great where we haven't painted the terrain properly, but you know, on the areas we have painted the terrain, it's looking really smart. Let's just go down here, have a look. So I've painted, you know, done some work on the terrain around here, and you know, it's looking nice, looking good. I'll show you the decal version, the billboard version too, but in my opinion this is a much better look. Like I say, the shadows will get baked down so it'll look even better. So let's just paint this little area here. Okay, so through here let's just put some, let's mix the grass. Well, that's a bit too much. Okay. I can change the opacity and that'll bring it, yeah, that'll just take it down a little bit. Some green around there. Put a few ground plants. Just be careful with these, like I said, it's quite heavy. Okay, let's see what that does for us. Frame rate still okay, 60. So, you know, I mean, personally as a gamer, I don't mind a frame rate of 30 as long as it looks awesome. You know, if you're going to use, you know, 30 frames for something, make sure it looks good. But 60 frames looking awesome is the ideal situation, really. And there you go. Once we've got, you know, we're going to put lots more debris, stones, rocks, bits of wood, twigs and stuff all over the ground, and that will make it look, that will really break it up and make it look fantastic. And then we've got the ambient occlusion going down and all our visual effects on top of that. Yeah, you can already see it's starting to come together now. So I hope you like that. Any questions, leave them in the comments, because that was quite a technical procedure to get that right. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next lecture.